in physical activity settings or physical education settings in schools than they would if it was a segregated setting and they weren't around people with disabilities. And then the fourth outcome is not only do they have an appreciation for individual differences, but a better attitude toward people with disabilities.
Patty Shanaberg is using her disability to change people's minds about the handicap.
I try to give people something positive to look at, and also an individual. You know, unfortunately, the media and most attention is paid to the handicapped, groups of able-bodied people that are helping the handicapped, which only fosters more of that obligation to help, or the angry militants who are fighting for their rights, and that only fosters more we, them, and a separatist attitude. So I think it's important to give people an individual that they can relate to. You know, one person in a wheelchair is a person in a wheelchair. Two or more becomes the handicapped.
The sky's the only limit to Patty, and she won't stop until she's won the gold. We'll meet her next on the slopes.
The feeling I had when I first jumped a horse, that I knew that this is something I wanted to do until I did it well. And there's just something about that challenge. Of course, there's nothing like the working with the horse, because you're two athletes working together, and there's also that that feeling of complete control on the ground. You're controlling 2,000 pounds of pure emotion. Riding was my life.
Patty Shanaberg's dream of being a world-class jumper shattered when she was thrown from a horse. Paralyzed from the waist down, Patty had to hang up her saddle, but she didn't give up on life. She traded in her 2,000 pounds of pure emotion for 25 pounds of pure thrill and excitement. Monoskiing is one of the newest wheelchair sports. Patty's goal is to be the first U.S. woman skier at her level to compete in the 1994 Winter Olympics. She says fear sometimes goes along with having a disability, but she uses her fear to get down the mountain.
In many parts of my life, I think that fear is sort of a luxury I can't afford. But in regards to my accident in the skiing, I had my accident doing something I loved more than anything else in the whole world. And I learned a long time ago that living in fear of the unknown sometimes tends to create its own tragedy.
At first, I mean, you start out so slowly. I was more impatient to do something that was going to give me a little bit of fear. I was like, come on, come on. In fact, now you could talk to a few of my instructors and they say that I don't have enough fear for my own good. And I feel like I'm almost not having fun unless I'm a little bit afraid. So I'm not really, I mean, I do have fear because my ability hasn't caught up with my ambition yet.
Maybe her fear won't stop her, but Patty says other people's fears and reactions to her disability can make her feel limited.
What I have learned in almost 14 years is that all the positive self-image and confidence in the world has a very hard time competing with the overwhelming emotional reaction that other people have been conditioned to have when faced with someone with a disability. Because once you see that what you can do, and once you have that positive self-image and confidence, you reach a point where it's very discouraging to go out into the mainstream of society with all this confidence and positive self-image, but you're met with such gross underestimations from other people. You know, and a lot of it, you know, it's certainly nobody's fault because every disability is different. But, you know, I mean, here I am, I'm skiing down a mountain and I swim a mile a day and I work out with weights and I do all these things, and I've dropped a pencil on the floor and 3 people butt heads. They come out of nowhere.
Patty's trying to change people's minds about the handicap through competitive skiing.
I have my own personal athletic aspirations, but I also have a much larger goal in mind. It's funny, some corporations feel a little bit funny about supporting a disabled athlete because they feel it's sort of exploitation. But there's really no more exploitation involved than putting a logo on a race car driver, because I am a serious athlete training for international competition, and I hope to use the media to give the public a perspective of an individual that they can relate to, and help people to think more in terms of abilities and not disabilities, because I think that we can all benefit from moving away from those emotional reactions towards a more objective perspective, because it's not what we can't do that matters, it's what we can do and what we do with what we can do.
There's nothing I don't think Patty Shanenberg can't do. I don't know, I haven't found it yet. She's probably one of the most determined, ambitious young ladies that I've ever known in my life.